For more than a century, Mercedes-Benz has been building the best motor cars in the world. Cars renowned for their quality, style, engineering and innovation. Cars like the drop-dead gorgeous 300 SL Gullwing, the best car in the world, the Mercedes S-Class, and an absolute belter, the stunning and agonizingly pretty CL55. But there was a time when, for many, owning a Mercedes-Benz was the stuff of dreams. Being able to gaze out over that three-pointed star came at a price that many couldn't afford. That was until 1998, when Mercedes launched this. The A-Class, the most compact and affordable Mercedes ever. A car that was crammed to the rafters with groundbreaking technology and a host of bright ideas. Today, the A-Class's cheeky silhouette is still as distinctive as when it was first launched, and it has proved a massive success. No Mercedes model has sold more in such a short space of time, over 500,000 worldwide, including 30,000 in the UK alone. Yet, in a world where cars all look the same, the A-Class is still brilliantly individual, not just for its looks, but for its driving ability and the sheer cleverness of its packaging. Never before has a car been so small on the outside, yet so large on the inside. Sit behind the wheel, and it's hard to believe that at around 12 feet in length, the A-Class is shorter than even a Ford Ka. And not many people know that. This little gem is the most innovative new car of the 90s. And what's more, research shows that these first 30,000 A-Class owners are blissfully happy with their motors. But, and it's a but that we have to deal with, anything this good presents a ticklish problem. How on earth do you improve it? How do you make a great car even better? Well, I'm here to tell you that Mercedes have done exactly that. This is the sporting avant-garde. At first sight, little appears to have changed, and why should it? But look more closely and you'll see there's been a whole raft of improvements, starting with completely new front and rear bumpers with these integrated protective mouldings. The headlights with their clear lenses are also new, as indeed are these very swish alloy wheels. Plus, you get protective strips along the doors now as standard. At the back, there are newly designed rear lights and a boot release for the hatch, together with a much more robust parcel shelf, which replaces the roller cover of the old model. And they've even changed the weighting on the boot lid. So now when you close it, you really know it's shut. But it's when you get inside the A-Class that you really do start to see some serious improvements. To kick off with, the seats are more comfortable. Introduced across the range in late 2000, they give a lot more support where it matters. And in the avant-garde, you now get this new leather and fabric trim design, plus other fabric variations on the Elegance and the Classic. So what else is different? Well, the fascia looks and feels a whole lot better. They've used a much more tactile material. Nothing's changed on the dash, but the center console has been redesigned. Some of the switchgear has been moved around to follow the logic of the C, E and S-Class, which means that the ASR switch is up here, the radio is in the middle of the console, much safer and easier to use, and these heating and ventilation controls have been moved down here. The softer feel steering wheel is also new, and it comes with height adjustment as standard. Another little touch that means so much is this really rather lovely aluminium flash on the door, which on the Elegance is wood. And you can even have your dash colour-coded now. Grey may be standard on the A-Class, but if you order, say, a blue interior, the front of the fascia can also have a blue hue. So, much improved all round, but Mercedes didn't stop there. For Stuttgart engineers go to great lengths to make their cars as leading edge as possible, which is why, for those people who need a little bit more space, Mercedes have quite literally stretched the A-Class to produce this, the long wheelbase version. And what a difference an extra 17 centimeters makes. The A-Class was always capacious inside, as big as the C-Class in fact, but sit inside the long wheelbase version and the space in the back is now as big, and I kid you not, an S-Class. Don't believe me? Well, let's put it to the test. Here's a measuring tape, and the space between here and here is 40 centimetres. And if we compare it to the lavish rear accommodation of the best car in the world, the S-Class, you'll see that it's also 40 centimetres. Strange but true. But it's not just about legroom, it's about flexibility. Now, research has shown that some Mercedes customers have been put off the A-Class by the lack of space. But now they needn't look any further, because there's the long wheelbase version, which is particularly handy if you've got one of these. In we go. Good boy. Putting one of these infernal things in the back of an A-Class was always a little bit fiddly, but with this version, it is absolute child's play. There. Why do people have children? They are the small car with big versatility. And if you fold or remove the rear seats, you're looking at the capacity of a small van. So with the small car segment going from strength to strength, Mercedes, quite rightly, expect the long wheelbase A-Class to be a bestseller. And what about the oily bits? Well, the petrol engine lineup stays the same, but both long and short wheelbase A-Classes get an enhanced A170 CDI engine. Power is up from 90 to 95 brake, but the engine is actually quieter. The new Mercedes A-Class, the small car that's grown up. It's a massively impressive car, one that has redefined how a small performance saloon should look, feel and drive. It takes the mid-size range forward, especially in terms of aesthetic and tactile quality, plus the sheer amount of convenience-oriented technology. They're not my words, but those of some of the most cynical critics in the world, our illustrious motoring press. But they seem to have got it right, because since its launch last October, the new C has been a monster hit. Matinee idle looks, cosseting interior, and an absolute blinder to drive. All that adds up to brilliant packaging, giving everything you could possibly want from a saloon car. But what if you wanted a room with a slightly larger view, a bit more space for all your impedimenta? What if you wanted acres and acres of space? Well, look no further. I give you the new C-Class estate. Now, most estates have all the charisma of an old shoe, but not this one. Just take a look at this. Load luggers really don't come much more stylish than this, and let me tell you, appearances really do matter, because with estates, research shows that looks are the single most important purchasing criteria, with load capacity bizarrely ranking fairly low on people's wish lists. What's more, estates are having a bit of renaissance at the moment. Once they were seen as a compromise, practical, sensible, but essentially worthy. But now, having a nice, curvaceous rear end is very fashionable indeed. And as you can see, this isn't just the C-Class saloon with a bustle bolted on the back. The estate was developed simultaneously with the saloon, and from the outset was designed to be a real stunner. Just look at how that roofline dramatically slopes down. It's more like a coupe than an estate. But while it's definitely got attitude, it's still a very practical asset. So let's take a peep round the back. First off, the load sill is commendably low. And thanks to this huge angle that the tailgate now opens at, you get much, much wider access to the entire load area. And please note the complete absence of any wheel arch intrusions. And with the rear seats folded, it's utterly flat from the tailgate all the way to the front seats. And you might be interested to know that the only other car that has a larger load area than this is the Volvo V70. And we don't want one of those, do we? But that's enough talk about suitcases and Volvos. What's it like to drive?
Well, from where I'm sitting, this doesn't feel like an estate at all. In terms of comfort and handling, it's absolutely superb. And you may have all that extra architecture at the back, but you certainly don't notice it. But like the saloon, the estate will have 8 different engine options, and the newest, and for me, one of the most interesting, is the 270 CDI. Now this is a common rail, turbocharged 5-cylinder. It's more powerful than the old 250, and it whacks out an astonishing 370 Newton meters of pulling power. So it's quick, yet it's extremely frugal. Who said diesels were a compromise? So, dynamic performance, terrific looks, and truly cavernous accommodation. Perfect for the family with a bit of attitude. But what if you were looking not for space, but for that certain je ne sais quoi, something special, something separate, something very, very individual indeed? Well, how about this? The stunning Mercedes C-Class Sports Coupe. Now, the first thing we need to say is that you don't need to be Jean-Paul Sartre to realize that this really is a gorgeous, pretty car. It is agonizingly beautiful. It's almost as head-turning as the CL, and that is the best-looking coupe in the world. You know what, fellas, good for the moolah. The Sports Coupe takes the C-Class into a whole new market. It's a high-quality, quick, but practical coupe. Now, everybody has been wowed by its styling, but it's very important to remember that this is not just a modified version of its saloon brother. It's a completely original car in its own right. Let's start at the back. Now, the first thing we see is this integrated high rear spoiler, plus this funky little design flourish here that you can actually see out of, and it helps you park. And unlike that hateful BMW compact, the Sports Coupe has its own unique dimensions. It's shorter and lower than the C-Class saloon, but the wheelbase is the same, so you're not going to lose much interior space. But low and slinky doesn't mean impractical. Just have a look in here. At the risk of sounding desperately tedious, there is 310 litres of luggage capacity in there, and if you fold the rear seats flat, you triple it to 1,100 litres. More than enough room for you and your baggage's baggage. Up front, the grille is more steeply raked than on the saloon, and it's got the same 3-pointed star as the CL, SLK and SL. And the headlamps are different too. The ovals are much more delineated than on the saloon. Plus, if you look down here, this front apron gives the car a much wider and more aggressive stance, and it looks even meaner, I have to tell you, with the Evolution styling package. But the differences aren't just confined to the exterior. No coupe claustrophobia here. This is definitely a 4-seater and not a token 2+2. What's more, with the easy entry system, getting in and out of the back doesn't require the sort of physical swiveling needed in lesser coupes. It'll worry you all one day. And the cabin is really a rather nice place to be. There's this fetching 3-spoke steering wheel with all the multi-function features you'll find in the saloon, and if you'll notice, the instrument binnacle has gone curvy. Cloth is standard, but leather, as I'm sure you'll agree, is a rather agreeable option. And like the SLK, the Sports Coupe won't have any model lines, so no classic, no avant-garde, and no elegance. But it's what's above your head that's going to get people really talking. As an option, the Sports Coupe offers something completely different, what Mercedes call a panoramic sunroof, and what I call rather clever. Behind these electronic roller blinds is a unique glass ceiling that stretches all the way from the front screen right back to the rear. And I'm sure it's going to be an open and shut winner. How does it work? Well, Mercedes have replaced the steel roof with a 3-piece continuously glazed roof. The glass is tinted to completely filter out UVB and UVC rays. And if you fancy a bit of open-top motoring, then press this button and open sesame. It goes all the way back. But look,
this isn't a suburban trinket, it's a sports coupe. Time now, I think, for some serious driving. It's lower, it's got wider rubber. There are 4 choices of engine. You get the option of a C180, the C200, C230 compressors, and believe it or not, a C220 CDI. The first time, I believe, a diesel has ever been put in a sports coupe, and there's no compromise on performance. But the real pièce de résistance on this is the Sequintronic gearbox option. Now, this isn't a substitute for an automatic. It's just simply a wonderful manual override system that's derived directly from Mercedes' involvement with Formula One. So just bang the lever, and there we are, we're up into 3rd, bang it again, we're up into 4th, and again, we can go up into 5th, bang, 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 and back down to 2nd. If you want to move it over to the left, you get automatic mode, so you can just drive around feeling superior and moneyed, and it doesn't use any hydraulics. It's all done by electric impulses. It's absolutely cutting edge and brilliantly easy to use. You've still got kick down. What it does, it just completely eliminates the need for a clutch. What we have here then is the most accessible, affordable and charismatic sports coupe ever. It is really incredibly good. It's obviously going to appeal to a much younger, more image-conscious market. Many of those buyers will be completely new to Mercedes-Benz, probably disaffected with their Audi A3s and Toyota Celicas, poor souls. But they'll be buying into something which is really quite astonishingly good. Mercedes say that this car will account for 5,000 of C-Class sales. I think it's going to account for a whole hill more. I think this car is going to be a monster hit with waiting lists that stretch way into the horizon. You just wait and see. So, some terrific new additions to the Mercedes range. The brilliantly conceived C-Class sports coupe with looks to die for and features to kill for.